The Great Assembly Hall of the Terran Galactic Council was a marvel of technology and arrogance. Its walls shimmered with holographic projections of conquered worlds, spinning lazily in a display of galactic dominance. Alien delegates from dozens of species gathered around the central podium, their voices blending into a cacophony of self-assured superiority. To them, the humans of Earth were nothing more than a footnote, a minor, backward species on the edge of the galaxy. High Commander Veltrin, a towering figure of scaled gold armor, slammed his clawed hand onto the table, silencing the chatter. His voice boomed, full of disdain. Humans, he spat the word like venom. A primitive species barely scraping the surface of space travel. They think they can bargain with us. Pathetic. The delegates murmured in agreement. To the Terran Empire and its allies, Earth was insignificant, a small, temperamental world with nothing to offer. The idea that humans could stand against the Council's might was laughable. "They have made progress," muttered Crixa, the representative of the Zellan consortium, her luminous blue eyes glowing faintly. "Their technology has accelerated in recent decades." Veltrin scoffed. "Progress? Their best weaponry couldn't scratch our smallest frigates. A minor irritation, like an insect buzzing in the void." He paused, glaring around the hall. "They dared to refuse our demands for tribute. The audacity. We should crush them before they forget their place." The other delegates cheered. It was decided. Earth would face the wrath of the Galactic Council. Meanwhile, on Earth, the faint hum of distant machinery echoed through the hidden command bunker, deep beneath a mountain. General Elias Carter stood before a massive display screen, his expression unreadable as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Across the room, his officers worked in tense silence, their faces illuminated by glowing panels. "They've made their decision," Carter said finally, his voice calm but cold. "The Council's fleet is mobilizing. They think we're weak." A younger officer, Lieutenant Grace Kim, looked up from her console, her brow furrowed. "Should we initiate protocol, or wait for confirmation?" Carter's gaze hardened. "No, we'll let them make the first move. They're arrogant enough to think they've already won. Let's show them how wrong they are." The room fell silent as the weight of his words settled over the team. Back in the assembly hall, the delegates laughed and congratulated themselves on their decision to subjugate Earth. Veltrin, relishing the moment, stepped forward to deliver the final order. But just as he raised his hand, a strange sound echoed through the hall. It was faint at first, a low rhythmic hum, almost like a heartbeat. The delegates turned to one another, confused. Holograms flickered, their lights dimming and brightening as the sound grew louder. "What is this?" Veltrin growled, his voice tinged with irritation. "Some technical malfunction." But it wasn't a malfunction. A holographic projection flared to life in the center of the hall, unbidden. The image of a human appeared, an older man with piercing eyes and a calm demeanor. He wore a simple uniform with no insignias, yet his presence commanded the room. "Members of the Galactic Council," the man began, his tone measured but resolute. "I am General Elias Carter of Earth. I assume you're discussing our future." The hall erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted, demanding explanations. Veltrin roared, "How dare you breach our security?" The human smiled faintly, his expression unwavering. "You underestimated us. That was your first mistake." The Council's shock. "How did they?" began Crixa, but her voice faltered. The sound in the hall wasn't just the human's voice. It was something deeper, a resonance that made the very air seem to vibrate. The sound wasn't random. It was a message. "Analyze the frequency." Veltrin barked, his claws digging into the podium. "Find out how they accessed our systems." But before anyone could act, the hologram shifted. Behind the general, a vast fleet materialized. Ships of unfamiliar design, bristling with weaponry, filled the projection. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light, and their sheer size dwarfed anything the Council had ever constructed. "We are not the same species you ignored a century ago," Carter said, his voice steady. "You thought us weak because we chose peace. You assumed we were defenseless because we didn't flaunt our strength. That was your second mistake." The delegates stared in stunned silence. The display showed Earth's hidden fleet, a force they had no idea existed. Veltrin snarled, slamming his fist down. "Lies. This is an illusion, a bluff." Carter's gaze sharpened. "You're welcome to test that theory. But I assure you, if you proceed with your plans, Earth will not stand alone. We are ready, and we will not show mercy." A chilling silence. The hologram flickered out, leaving the hall in stunned silence. The sound, the strange hum, remained, growing fainter until it finally vanished. Veltrin's confident posture sagged as he glanced at his advisors. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. "We cannot let them scare us," he muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. But the delegates weren't so sure. Whispers rippled through the hall as they realized the truth. Humanity was no longer the weak species they had once dismissed. The Council's hall was silent after General Carter's hologram vanished. Alien delegates stood frozen, uncertain of what they had just witnessed. The once loud chatter of confidence now seemed like echoes in the back of their minds. The weight of the truth was beginning to settle over them. Earth, an insignificant, weak species in their eyes, had just revealed a hidden fleet that dwarfed anything they could have imagined. Veltrin, unable to suppress his growing frustration, slammed his fist onto the podium again. "Find them," he ordered his officers. "Trace that signal. There has to be a trick somewhere. No species could hide a fleet of that magnitude for so long. It's impossible." But deep inside, Veltrin felt a knot form in his stomach. He had always prided himself on knowing every enemy, every weakness. Now he was faced with a threat that not only blindsided him, but also made him question everything he knew about his place in the galaxy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the same hum that had rattled the Council's hall reverberated across the continents of Earth. It was subtle at first, a vibration that no one could truly pinpoint, but it echoed through communication lines, through military bases, and deep beneath the oceans. General Carter stood alone in a room filled with monitors, his gaze focused on one of the screens in front of him. There, floating in the vast emptiness of space, was a fleet of unimaginable size. The fleet wasn't just Earth's military. It was a symbol of humanity's hidden potential, a legacy centuries in the making. Earth had been preparing for this moment in secret, biding its time, knowing that someday it might face an enemy too powerful to ignore. Now that the time had come, humanity was no longer going to play by the galaxy's rules. "Everything is in place," Carter muttered to himself, staring at the fleet's hologram. "Now they'll know what happens when you push humans too far." The fleet, consisting of sleek, powerful warships, hovered in the void, waiting for the orders that would set them in motion. The ships were not just instruments of war. They were a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of humanity. Each vessel had been built not with alien technology, but with human hands, utilizing Earth's best-kept secrets. The hum, the signal, was Earth's subtle declaration that it was ready for whatever came next. Back at the Galactic Council, inside the Council's chambers, a ripple of unease spread among the delegates. The arrogance that once filled the room was now replaced with an uncomfortable silence. Veltrin turned to his advisors, his eyes narrowing. "If they truly have this fleet, they will not hesitate to destroy us. We must make a move now, or they will come for us." Crixa, still shaken from the sudden turn of events, spoke up. "We need to act fast. If this fleet is as real as they claim, we cannot afford to underestimate them again." The Xaran commander growled. "I won't be bullied by primitive humans. We will strike first, before they have a chance to retaliate." But there was doubt in his voice now, doubt that had not been there before. The very idea that Earth could possess a fleet capable of challenging the Council made Veltrin uneasy. It wasn't just about the fleet anymore. It was about what the humans represented. A species thought to be weak had just stood up and shown the galaxy that it could fight back. The tension in the room was palpable, but before anyone could act, a new message arrived. It was another hologram, a projection from Earth. But this time, it wasn't General Carter. The image was of a woman, young, with short dark hair and a steely expression. "Council members," she said coldly, her voice sharp and clear. "You've made a grave mistake, assuming humanity would cower. Now you will see that we fight back, together." The projection flickered, revealing another part of Earth's hidden fleet, dozens of colossal warships now slowly emerging from dark space, their sheer size dwarfing anything the Council had ever seen. The message ended with a chilling reminder. You're not the hunters anymore. You're the prey. The delegates exchanged nervous glances. They had believed Earth was nothing but an inconvenience, an isolated planet, barely a threat to anyone. Now it was clear that Earth was far more than they ever anticipated. The arrogance of the Council had come crashing down, and with it, the realization that humanity would not go down without a fight. The reveal. Back on Earth, Carter's face remained stoic as he watched the Council's response. His team worked quickly, ensuring that the fleet remained hidden in the depths of space, just out of reach. The ships, armed to the teeth with Earth's best technology, were waiting for the signal. "This is it," Carter said quietly. "We've sent our message. Now we wait." Back at the Galactic Council, Veltrin's patience had worn thin. The holographic message from Earth had shaken him more than he cared to admit. "We will crush them," he hissed, his claws digging into the armrest. "We will show them that no species defies the Council." But deep inside, he knew that this wasn't going to be an easy victory. The Council had underestimated humanity, and that was a mistake they might not survive. As the room filled with noise and tension, a sudden, unexpected thought crossed Veltrin's mind, a thought he had never considered before. Could the Council really defeat Earth's hidden fleet? Could they survive the wrath of a species that had been underestimated for so long? The sound of approaching warships from Earth reverberated through space as they prepared to make their move. For the first time, Veltrin wasn't sure of the answer. The echoes of Earth's warning still reverberated through the vast chamber of the Galactic Council. Veltrin and his colleagues remained frozen, eyes locked on the holographic projection, now flickering with static. The tone of the human message had struck like a blow, a stark declaration that had shattered their illusions of superiority. The Council had never once considered humanity to be a real threat. They were an insignificant backward species, too far from the core of the galaxy to be taken seriously. But now, something had changed. The silence in the Council hall was palpable. The alien delegates, those who had once scoffed at humanity, now stood with furrowed brows and clenched fists. The images of Earth's hidden fleet, revealed in full for the first time, were unlike anything they had ever imagined. But despite the fear spreading like wildfire through the room, Veltrin's face remained stoic, a mask hiding the panic that was slowly beginning to build. He had underestimated humanity. The Council had all underestimated humanity, and that mistake might be their last. In the far reaches of the galaxy, Earth's fleet slowly moved into position. Each warship was equipped with advanced technology the aliens had no knowledge of, weapons designed specifically for their enemies. And the humans had kept this hidden, not for decades, but for centuries. General Carter watched as the fleet came to life, the massive ships now emerging from the shadow of distant planets and moons. The fleet wasn't just a collection of warships, it was a message. Each vessel represented humanity's defiance, a statement that would echo through the galaxy. "This is it," Carter whispered to his team. "We've done everything we can. We've sent our message, now let's see if they believe it." The human fleet had been waiting in the cold vacuum of space, hidden in plain sight, camouflaged by technology that kept it off every scanner, off every radar. But now that it was revealed, there was no turning back. The humans had been wronged, tortured, mistreated, and now They would make sure the galaxy never made that mistake again. The Galactic Council responds. Back in the council chambers, panic had begun to creep into the ranks. As Veltrin stood, his mind raced. His earlier command to strike first now seemed rash. He had expected the humans to be weak. He had expected them to be frightened, to submit quietly like the countless other species they had conquered in the past. But now, it was clear. Humanity was not afraid. Do not act on impulse. Crixa, one of the more level-headed commanders, warned Veltrin. We must think this through carefully. If they are as strong as they appear to be, rushing in could be catastrophic for us. But Veltrin, in his fury, was beyond listening to reason. They mocked us, he snarled. We will not let this slide. We will crush them, and we will show them that no one dares defy the Galactic Council. The room erupted into a heated debate as the delegates discussed their options. Some pushed for an immediate strike, while others, like Crixa, insisted on gathering more information. But no matter what they decided, one thing was clear. The Council was facing an unprecedented threat, and their assumptions about humanity had been shattered. General Carter's strategy. Back on Earth, General Carter looked at the holograms before him, each displaying a different part of the fleet, waiting for his orders. The gravity of the situation had sunk in, but he remained calm, giving orders with precision. We've made our stand. Now we make sure they understand our resolve, Carter said. He turned to his team. Have all communication channels open. The moment they make a move, we respond. Earth's military wasn't just prepared for a strike. They had made sure to leave nothing to chance. The fleet was positioned in the perfect location, not too far from their home planet, but far enough to strike first. And the weapons they had developed were made to last. They would not go down easily. Carter glanced at the large holographic display once more, scanning the ships that formed Earth's armada. We've been underestimated for too long. It's time to remind the galaxy that Earth does not bow. The first move. Back at the Galactic Council, the decision had been made. Veltrin had overridden the objections and ordered the first strike. The Council would not stand idle, no matter what the humans had revealed. But even as the orders were given, the reality of the situation settled in. For the first time, they had underestimated an enemy in a way that might prove disastrous. As their fleet prepared to engage, Veltrin's thoughts swirled. They had been too quick to dismiss humanity, too eager to believe that Earth was no threat to them. But now, the Council was facing a reckoning, one they had never imagined. Across the galaxy, a silent tension hung in the air. Both sides now knew what the other was capable of. Neither could afford to back down. And as both fleets began to power up, it was clear. The war for the galaxy's future had begun. Hook ending. As the Galactic Council's ships powered up and Earth's fleet readied for battle, an unsettling quiet filled the space between them. The fleets were mere moments away from engaging, but neither side could shake the heavy weight of the unknown. No one knew exactly what would happen when these two forces finally collided. The fate of the galaxy now rested on this moment. Would humanity's defiance be enough to stand up to the power of the Galactic Council, or would they be crushed under the weight of the Council's military might? The next few moments would determine everything. The tension was unbearable. As the two forces prepared to face off, the question remained, who would make the first move? Would it be the humans, with their new, hidden power, or would the Council strike first, hoping to maintain their long-held dominance? The galaxy was about to find out. The silence that hung in space was broken by the first movement of the fleets. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity. On Earth, General Carter's eyes narrowed as he watched the holographic map of the galaxy. He could see the Galactic Council's fleet approaching, massive ships, sharp and sleek, closing in fast. The fate of humanity was now hanging by a thread, but they were no longer the defenseless species they once were. Humanity had prepared for this day, every inch of the hidden fleet designed to strike fear into those who had dared harm them. But now, as they faced the Council, they understood the gravity of what was at stake. Earth wasn't just defending its people, it was defending its pride, its honor, and its place in the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for battle," Carter commanded, his voice steady but carrying the weight of the universe. His fingers danced over the controls, giving final orders. He knew that one wrong move could lead to the complete destruction of their world. But there was no turning back now. The only choice left was to fight. At the other end of the galaxy, Veltrin's heart pounded as he stood in front of the Council's tactical board. The ships were approaching Earth at full speed, and their weapons were primed and ready. But a part of him couldn't shake the nagging feeling of doubt. He had never imagined that humanity would be able to hide such an extensive fleet, much less survive the cruelty of the Council long enough to retaliate. His arrogance had almost cost them everything. "Are the weapons systems active?" Veltrin demanded. "Yes, General," one of the officers replied. "Everything is in place. We can strike within minutes." But even as the countdown to launch began, Veltrin's thoughts lingered on the humans. They had been seen as weak, inferior. He had dismissed their ability to put up a real fight. But now, as the battle drew near, the Council was beginning to realize just how serious a mistake they had made. The battle begins. The two fleets met in the vast emptiness of space, a battleground of silent titans, each ship bristling with weapons, ready to unleash their fury. The first shot was fired from a Galactic Council warship, a blazing beam of energy streaking toward Earth's fleet. It was a devastating move, one that shook the very fabric of space itself. But Earth's fleet wasn't caught off guard. The hidden weapons, long buried and silent, now roared to life in retaliation. Ships that had been camouflaged and undetectable for years now revealed themselves in all their might. Plasma cannons flared. Antimatter missiles shot out from hidden launchers, and Earth's vessels unleashed a coordinated attack that made the Galactic Council pause. "Impossible," Veltrin shouted as he watched their ships being hit one by one. How could they have this kind of firepower? Human ships, their weapons far more powerful than the Galactic Council had anticipated, returned fire with unrelenting precision. Each strike left its mark, disabling shields, tearing through hulls, and leaving smoldering wreckage in their wake. The scale of the destruction was enormous, and the Council's ships began to retreat, momentarily disoriented by the intensity of Earth's attack. "Report," Veltrin demanded, his voice filled with disbelief. "They are fighting back," one of the officers reported nervously. "It's not a coincidence. Their fleet is well organized, well armed, and coordinated. The humans, they were ready." Across the battlefront, General Carter watched with pride as Earth's ships held their ground. His fleet was proving itself, showing the Council just how far they were willing to go to protect their world. But he knew this was only the beginning. The real fight was far from over. Unexpected strength. Despite the overwhelming odds, Earth's fleet continued to push forward. Their ships, though outnumbered, had the advantage of surprise. The Galactic Council had underestimated them at every turn, and now they were reaping the consequences of their hubris. The human fleet wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Their weapons were proving to be far more advanced than anything the Council had anticipated. And the Council's forces, despite their size and technological superiority, were beginning to feel the weight of their mistake. Ships began to falter under the precision of Earth's attacks, shields failing, engines burning, and crew members scrambling for survival. But the Council wasn't going to retreat for long. Veltrin knew they couldn't afford to be seen as weak. He was no longer thinking clearly, driven by rage and fear. It was time for a counterattack, and he ordered his fleet to rally. "Focus all firepower on their lead ship," Veltrin commanded, his voice steady as he tried to take control of the situation. Earth's ships, however, were prepared. The lead ship, a massive battleship named Valor, had been reinforced with advanced armor and defensive systems, designed to withstand even the most intense bombardments. The Council's barrage hit it hard, but the ship remained unbroken, and the humans launched a counterattack that sent shockwaves through the Council's forces. the human resolve. Back on Earth, General Carter stood tall, watching the holographic projections of the battle unfold before him. His eyes flickered between the images, his hand steady as he continued to issue commands. Every move was calculated, every strike measured. Humanity had been through too much, and they had learned to survive in ways the galaxy couldn't even begin to understand. The war had only just begun, and Earth's message had been delivered. But Carter knew this was far from over. The Council was going to retaliate, and the next few hours would determine the fate of their world. Could humanity maintain their advantage, or would the weight of the Council's might finally bring them down? For now, all he could do was wait and watch, knowing that the universe would never forget the day humanity proved just how strong they really were. As the battle raged on, something strange began to unfold on both sides of the conflict. While the Galactic Council had always prided itself on its technological superiority, Earth's hidden fleet was proving to be more than a match. For the first time in centuries, the Council's arrogance was beginning to falter. General Carter stood in the command center, his face illuminated by the glowing holographic screens, tracking the progress of the battle. His fleet had not only held its ground but was now pushing the Council back. His heart beat faster with each successful strike. For so long, humanity had been dismissed, underestimated, and threatened. But now, the tables had turned. Earth was no longer just a planet of insignificant, fragile beings. They were a force to be reckoned with. However, Carter knew they couldn't let their guard down. This fight was far from over. The Council was regrouping, and they were not going to take defeat lying down. The next stage of the battle was coming, and it would test humanity's resolve like never before. A desperate counterattack. Veltrin, the Council's top strategist, was not one to lose easily. He watched as his fleet's firepower failed to penetrate the Earth's defenses. His mind raced for a solution, his pride pushing him to make a move that could turn the tide of the war. The Council was vast and powerful, but now they were facing an enemy they hadn't anticipated. They were facing Earth, stronger, more resilient, and more resourceful than they had ever given credit. "Mobilize the reserves," Veltrin commanded, his voice sharp and filled with authority. "We will take the human fleet down, piece by piece. There is no excuse for this failure." The new order sent shockwaves through the Council's fleet. Hidden reinforcements began to emerge from the dark reaches of space, massive ships unlike anything Earth had seen before. They were formidable, equipped with the latest weaponry and armor. The tide of the battle began to shift, and for a brief moment, it seemed as if Earth might lose its momentum. The turning point. General Carter's mind raced as he observed the incoming reinforcements. He knew the Council wouldn't stop at anything to wipe out humanity's defiance. The fleet was outnumbered, but they had the element of surprise on their side. Earth's soldiers had been trained for this moment, and they would fight until their last breath to protect their planet. "Bring up the secondary fleet," Carter ordered. The holographic map in front of him shimmered, showing the location of Earth's second wave of warships. These ships were smaller but faster and equipped with advanced cloaking technology. They had been designed for situations just like this one. Humanity was prepared. The secondary fleet appeared out of nowhere, emerging from the darkness of space like ghosts. It was an unexpected turn, and the Council's fleet found themselves caught off guard once again. Earth's ships struck with lightning speed, using hit-and-run tactics that left the Council reeling. "Impossible," Veltrin shouted, his face filled with frustration. "How do they have this many ships?" "We underestimated them," one of his officers said quietly, shaken by the unexpected turn of events. Veltrin clenched his fists in anger. The humans had more resources, more strategy, and more tenacity than he had ever imagined. The Council's pride had led them to believe they were invincible. But now, as the battle waged on, the Council's forces were beginning to falter. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, and that mistake might cost them everything. An unpredictable strategy. The more the battle progressed, the clearer it became. Earth wasn't fighting for survival alone. They were fighting for something far greater. Every strike, Every maneuver, every clever tactic was fueled by the years of oppression, the countless betrayals, and the history of underestimation that humanity had endured. Earth's fleet wasn't just reacting to the attack, it was creating opportunities. It was shaping the battle, and they were doing it with an unexpected brilliance. General Carter saw it now, the way the Council's forces were being forced into tight corners, overwhelmed by human ingenuity and grit. "Keep pushing forward," Carter ordered. "Don't give them a moment to breathe." Meanwhile, back on Earth, civilians and soldiers alike watched with bated breath. The war had spread to the very core of their lives, but they had never been more united. Earth's resistance had come alive, and it was showing the universe what they were truly capable of. The warning shot. But despite the victories and the unexpected strength of humanity, the battle was still far from over. The Council was not a group to accept defeat. They had powerful allies, and they could regroup and refuel. And if humanity wasn't careful, their surprising victory might be fleeting. "We've delivered our message," Carter said grimly, his voice unwavering. "But this fight isn't won yet. The Council will retaliate, and when they do, it will be relentless." He turned to his crew, every one of them focused on the task ahead. "Prepare the fleet for the next phase. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." The call to arms. Back on the front lines, Earth's ships braced themselves for what was coming. Their victory had been a powerful statement, but they knew the fight wasn't over. It was only a matter of time before the Council struck back with everything they had. And when they did, humanity would have to fight harder than ever. The stage was set for the next phase of the war, a war that would decide not just the fate of Earth, but the future of the entire galaxy. As the battle seemed to momentarily halt, there was no time for relief. The Galactic Council was wounded, but they were far from defeated. Across the cosmos, massive fleets assembled, ready to strike back with vengeance. Their pride had been deeply wounded by Earth's surprise strike, and they would not let this humiliation go unpunished. The news of Earth's unexpected resilience spread like wildfire. The Galactic Council's leadership scrambled to make sense of what had happened. "How could we have missed this?" demanded one of the Council leaders, pacing back and forth in their war room. The audacity of Earth's hidden fleet had shaken the very foundation of their belief in their own superiority. In every corner of the galaxy, planets trembled at the thought of the Earth retaliating. The Council, usually the undisputed rulers of the stars, had underestimated humanity's potential. Now they had to prepare for the consequences of their mistake. Humanity had awakened, and their fury was not something that could easily be quelled. But the Council leaders were not fools. They knew Earth had struck first, but they still had overwhelming power in numbers and technology. It would take a concerted effort to crush humanity's will to resist. Part 7. The Gathering Storm. On Earth, General Carter received reports that sent a chill through his spine. The Galactic Council had launched a massive counteroffensive, and it was heading straight for Earth. Their fleets were vast, their firepower overwhelming. This wasn't just a typical military response, it was personal. The Council wanted to make an example of Earth. They wanted to show the galaxy that no one could defy them and live to tell the tale. "We've provoked a hornet's nest," Carter muttered, looking over the strategic maps. "They're coming at us with everything they've got." The hidden fleet, though powerful, wasn't invincible. Earth had won the first round, but the Council had the resources and manpower to turn the tide. The question now was, could humanity stand up to the full force of the Galactic Empire? As reports flooded in from every corner of Earth, the atmosphere shifted. People who had been living under the shadow of the Council's influence for generations now saw a glimmer of hope, but they also saw the danger looming. They knew the cost of defying such a powerful force. Carter's voice was firm. "We need to prepare. They're not going to stop until Earth is nothing but rubble. We will fight for every inch." The plan for survival. In the months that followed, Earth's scientists and military strategists worked around the clock to prepare. New technologies were developed in secret, and the fleet was enhanced. Humans were ready to put up a fight, but they knew that sheer willpower and strategy wouldn't be enough. Earth had to rely on their ability to adapt quickly, to be faster, smarter, and more unpredictable than the Galactic Council. Carter knew that his people could handle adversity. They had been fighting for survival for centuries, and this was just another battle in a long history of human struggle. It was in humanity's nature to push forward against the odds. But this time, it was different. The fate of the galaxy was hanging in the balance. Earth was no longer a meek, insignificant planet. Earth was a force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Council now had to face the consequences of their arrogance. They had unleashed a firestorm, one that could not be put out easily. The final showdown. The Galactic Council's fleets finally arrived on the edge of Earth's atmosphere, ready for the final assault. They had mobilized everything they had. Hundreds of thousands of ships, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and warships, lined up in an imposing formation. The time for negotiations was over. The Council had come to exact their revenge. On Earth, General Carter stood before the vast holographic map in the war room. His mind raced, formulating every possible strategy, but he knew one thing for sure. They couldn't win this fight by playing defense. The humans needed to strike first, to show the Council that they were ready, that they were willing to fight to the last breath. "This is it," Carter said, his voice steady. "It's now or never." Earth's fleet, fully mobilized, launched into the sky, engaging the Council's forces in a battle that would determine the fate of the planet, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Cliffhanger ending. As Earth's fleet surged into space, General Carter's mind flashed back to the first attack, how the humans had struck with fury, driven by a desire to prove themselves. This moment was no different. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. But as the battle unfolded in the vast expanse of space, something unexpected occurred. Amidst the chaos, an unexpected ally arrived. The silhouette of a massive fleet appeared on the horizon. It wasn't another human force. It wasn't from Earth. It was a fleet of alien ships, veterans of the Galactic Council's past tyranny. Ships that had been enslaved by the Council's rule, now returning to right the wrongs. These were the allies Earth hadn't expected. Together, they stood against the Galactic Empire, ready to fight for freedom and retribution. The Council had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity and the power of unity. As the fleets collided in an epic struggle for survival, one thing was clear. The war was far from over. The question remained, would Earth's alliance be enough to defeat the Galactic Council, or would the galaxy fall under the weight of the Council's tyranny once and for all? The battle for the galaxy was on, and only time would tell who would stand victorious. The galaxy held its breath as the unexpected ally of Earth's forces emerged from the shadows. The alien fleet, a group of survivors from distant systems once dominated by the Galactic Council, now stood alongside humanity. Their ships, battered and scarred from years of oppression, filled the space above Earth like a beacon of hope. Together, they had one common goal: to take down the oppressive Galactic Council once and for all. General Carter couldn't believe his eyes. The unexpected arrival of these ancient enemies turned allies brought a new surge of strength to the human cause. Their ships, some massive, others small but agile, began to rally alongside Earth's own fleet, forming a united front. It was no longer just Earth's battle. It was the battle of all who had been oppressed by the Galactic Council's iron grip. The moment the fleets joined forces, the battle began anew. A storm of laser fire, explosive bursts, and the deafening roar of engines filled the vacuum of space. The fight had reached its peak intensity, and the fate of the galaxy would be determined in this final confrontation. Humanity's resolve. The human forces fought with relentless precision. Each ship, each soldier, each officer was fully aware of the stakes. This wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about freedom. They weren't just defending Earth. They were defending every world that the Galactic Council had conquered, every species that had been enslaved. The Hidden Fleet, which had stunned the Galactic Council at first, now proved that humanity's might was not a mere coincidence. Earth had hidden its power for centuries, but now, the world was no longer afraid. Humans fought for their survival, their dignity, and the chance to live freely without the looming threat of an empire's tyranny. The Council's counterattack. The Galactic Council, stunned by the sudden turn of events, scrambled to reorganize their forces. They had underestimated the resolve of humanity, but now it was clear Earth had become a formidable adversary. Their fleets, while vast and powerful, were spread thin, trying to fend off not just human forces, but the unexpected alien alliance that had turned the tide. The Council unleashed its deadliest weapon, an enormous warship that dwarfed even their largest cruisers. Its guns were capable of wiping out entire fleets in a single salvo. The immense ship fired upon the combined forces of Earth and their allies, hoping to break their resolve with overwhelming firepower. A desperate gamble. General Carter, watching from the command center, knew that time was running out. The warship was too powerful, and if they didn't do something soon, Earth's chances of victory would slip away. "Prepare the strike team," Carter ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We have one shot at this." The plan was risky. Earth's fleet would create a diversion to draw the warship's fire, allowing a small team of elite soldiers and pilots to slip through the chaos and board the massive ship. Their mission was clear: take out the warship's core, its power source. If they could destroy it, the Council's most powerful weapon would be neutralized. The strike team launched into space, racing against the clock. Their target was the heart of the warship, a heavily guarded section that housed its power core. As they approached, the massive ship loomed before them, towering, menacing, and seemingly invincible. But the soldiers didn't hesitate. They had come this far, and they weren't about to stop now. They fought through waves of enemy defenses, their ships darting and weaving in the path of danger. The soldiers disembarked and infiltrated the warship, planting explosives in key areas as they made their way to the power core. With seconds to spare, they triggered the charges. The final countdown. The explosion was massive. The warship's engines and weapons systems collapsed in on themselves, sending shockwaves throughout space. For a brief moment, there was silence. The fleets paused, watching as the once mighty warship exploded into a brilliant flash of light, its destruction signaling the end of the Council's most powerful weapon. Earth's forces, emboldened by this victory, redoubled their efforts. The combined fleet launched a final assault on the remaining Council forces. The battle raged on, but now the balance of power had shifted. The Galactic Council was no longer in control. As the final Council ships were destroyed or forced to surrender, General Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking out over the battlefield. The Earth had won, but the victory came at a high price. The scars of war would remain, but the galaxy had been changed forever. A new beginning. The Galactic Council, once the dominant force in the universe, was shattered. Earth had become the symbol of resistance, the beacon of hope for countless planets and species. The war was over, but humanity's fight for freedom had only just begun. Now, as peace began to settle over the galaxy, Earth's leaders knew that they could never return to the old ways. There would be no more complacency. The war had shown humanity's true strength, and they would never let the galaxy forget it. Earth would continue to grow, to explore, and to protect its place in the cosmos. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never again would Earth be underestimated. As General Carter looked to the stars, he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were many more challenges ahead. But humanity had proven something undeniable. They were no longer weak, and they would never be silenced again. The age of Earth had just begun.